Hey y'all, N4H&H here with the Yaesu FTX-1. In this video, I want to show you how to set up the receive equalizer. This radio, like the FTDX10 and the FT710, has a 3-band receive equalizer, which is kind of nice. For some reason, the FTX-1 never got that. So let's get into this. Before I do it, let me explain something. I had a live cast the other night, and I explained this to some of the folks on the live cast. I've had a couple of different hams tell me that they almost got completely out of amateur radio because of hearing loss, and they were not able to find a radio that would help them be able to accentuate the frequencies they needed to accentuate to overcome their hearing loss. And also too, you may even need to cut certain frequencies. Let's say you're hearing a lot of bottom end and you'd like to knock that down. And you'd also like to boost the high frequencies, things like that, or the mids, you know, where the mids are going to be helping intelligibility. So I've had two different people tell me that the FTDX10 saved their ham radio enjoyment because it was able to do what I'm about to show you with this radio. Because let's face it, this radio is downstream from the FTDX101, the FTDX10, the FT710. Now this is a pure SDR on this HF side here, so it's more akin to the FT710. Now to get into the menu, it's a little different than if you're familiar with the previous Yaesus I mentioned. You don't just press the function knob, you long press. You'll hear the double beep and it gets into the menu. First page are some things you'd probably want to get to more often, but if you just keep scrolling to the right, or you can tap the forward button down there at the bottom. See, now there's a back and a forward. This is the CW page, page 2. Then scroll again and you'll get to the last page. And this is where you can set up repeater shifts, APRS beacon, things like that. But come down here to radio setting. You see that right there? So that's going to look familiar to you if you have an FTDX10, an FTDX101, or an FT710. Now, let me zoom in on that. All right. Now, I'm going to press the function knob to go into radio setting. Mode SSB. Now this is really cool. You can set each mode to have a different EQ curve. And by the way, there's other things we can set in here, not just EQ, but that's what this video is about. I'm already on mode SSB, which is the default, and I'm going to press the function knob, and that moves me over into this area here. Now, see, you can scroll down or use the arrows or a mouse if you hook a mouse up, and you can see all the things you can set here. And if it's in yellow, it's a default. So here's a hint. I found that 200 to 2800 for the transmit bandwidth works really well with the hand mic. All right, now you'll see here high cut, low cut. You know, those are some things I mess with too, and that has to do with audio on receive. So let me show you something there. The low cut frequency defaults at 100. So in other words, at 100 hertz or below, it's going to start sloping off at 6 dB per octave. Now, if you want a more, that's a gradual slope. If you want a more, shall we say, steep curve down, then you switch it to 18 dB. You can absolutely do that. I left it at default. It sounded fine. And I'll tell you why. The speakers aren't very big, so it lacks a little bit of the bottom end that you might prefer. Now, for the high cut, I always do this. I'm rolling off at 2200 because even with an 18 dB per octave cut, you see right here, the slope, it's still going to be able to hear, say, 2800 and even 3000, but it'll be tamped down a little bit. And see, the up in that range is where you get a lot more noise than you do anything else. Most of the intelligibility from the human voice is going to be around 24 to 2500 hertz. Now, you could argue scientifically by the book, maybe I should set that at 2500, and I'll say, okay, just start sloping off at 2500. Honestly, it's a matter of personal preference. I would say try that, you know, that way. And, you know, if you think you can live with less, do it, because you're just helping minimize noise. As long as you're still being able to pull people out. But I slope that off steep. Now, one could argue, well, maybe if you're going to do it at 2200, then maybe you slope it off gradually. That may be something that you should try. Everybody's ear is different. But again, I'm trying to help that radio as much as possible knock down the high pitch noise, the high frequency noise. So I would say this: if you're going to start sloping off, rolling off at a lower frequency, like say 2200, you may prefer doing a 6 dB per octave slope. Or you're not going to slope off until 2500, where, the human, like I said, the human voice is you're going to get a lot of intelligibility up there around 24 and 2500 hertz. So if you're going to wait and slope off there, 18 dB might be a better way to go. So just try these different options with your own hearing and see what works best. But what I just showed you, all radios can do. I say all, most modern radios have the ability to high cut and low cut, and then the ability to set what frequency it cuts at and the slope. Now, the Kenwood TS890S that I've been shooting a series of tutorial videos about for my Patreon S9 members, that one has a full-blown graphic EQ in there for both transmit EQ and receive EQ. And that's fine. I just, honestly, when I set that one up, and if you watch that series, you'll see how I did it, I'm basically mimicking what I'm doing here, but I'm just doing it with a graphic EQ. All right, now they don't let you control the slope right here. What you basically do is if you want to cut at 2500 and you want to cut steep, you just cut everything above 2500 all the way down with those graphic EQs, okay? So in other words, a lot of things are the same from one radio to the other, even from one manufacturer to the other, but you may do it a different way, different knobs. And in the case of the Kenwood, it's graphic EQ, so it's sliders. But like I said, most radios can do what I just showed you, the high cut, low cut, and, and setting the slope. Some can, some can't. But here's what you can do with this rig and the FTDX10 and the FT710 that a lot of radios won't have: a separate audio frequency treble gain, mid gain, and bass gain. So 3 bands. Now, you may notice those aren't defaults. No, the defaults are all 0, I'll just tell you. I felt like it needed just a little bit. Well, I'll tell you how I attacked it first of all. First of all, I thought the audio was kind of thin. So I maxed out the bass. It goes to 10. Beefed it up a little bit. And then I thought, okay, I need a little more clarity. So I ran it to 2 on the AF gain. Again, this stuff's going to vary according to your hearing. And then I thought, I still just need a little bit of articulation up there at the high frequency. So I boosted the treble to 1. Now, let you hear, and then I'll make some adjustments, and you can hear the differences. Some kind of a net going on. Now, I'm going to put all these back at 0. I don't know if that translated on the microphone, but I can already hear the bottom end dropped out. Now, by the way, in the menu, you can set this radio to use internal, these 2 speakers in front that are underneath the, there we go, where I'm pointing. There's 2 speakers here. And then there's one back there on the SPA1, speaker amplifier 1. See that speaker? And right now in the menu, it is set to use both. That is the default, and I would suggest that you do not change that. Right now, it's operating with both the speakers in the front and the one in the SPA1 amplifier, and I would suggest that you leave that alone. That's the default. Wish we had a stronger station. Okay, I'm going to jump out of this a minute, hitting the back button. See if I can find somebody stronger. I'm in memory mode right now. You see the white around the VFO? That indicates that I'm in memory mode. Blue would be VFO mode. Red would mean that the clarifier is turned on. And for you Kenwood owners, clarifier on this radio is the equivalent of your receive incremental tuning and transmit incremental tuning, RIT and XIT. The Yaesu calls it transmit clarifier, receive clarifier, things like that. But I'm in memory mode right now. Well, I want to tune away from that frequency. Top right button, let me zoom out. This button cycles between VFO mode and memory mode. This button allows me to memory tune. So I'm going to tap it and see it turn blue for VFO. And now I can tune away. Okay, here we go. We got a good strong one there.
Yankee Steve in Louisiana. We're looking for check-ins for the YL system. It's the Weekend Warriors.
I just want to check where back on page 1. So I'm running amp 1 and no attenuation. And that's about right for 20 meters. I'll try to work that S meter down closer to 0. It's sitting at S3 right now. I could probably, if this had an attenuation level of 6 dB, I'd probably kick it in, but this radio doesn't have the incremental attenuation of 6, 12, and 18 dB like the FTDX-10 and the FT710 and the FTDX-101. It's either attenuation on or attenuation off, and it's pretty hefty. I haven't seen the spec on it yet, but it's probably somewhere around maybe 18 or 20 dB of attenuation when it's on. All right, but I'm going to leave it off. Now what I will do is I'm going to tap the AF gain knob, and that turns it into RF gain when you tap it. And I'm going to roll the RF gain back. And I roll it back basically until I hear him without noise between his words.
Kilo Golf 5, Romeo Mike Yankee, looking for another check-in. Come now.
Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to go back to page 3 of the menu.
CQ check-ins for the YL System Weekend Warriors. Come with your call sign.
So,
one last shot, we'll change controls.
So again, if your ear hears a lot of low frequencies,
check-in on the YL System Weekend Warriors.
You'll want to roll that to the negative.
Nothing heard, Jeff. Kilo Echoes 4. Oscar Lima Echo. Over to you.
There's the default. I may have to go back out there and give it a little more gain. Nah, whoever's in there is very weak. I'll roll it up to S8. You think of the RF gain like an RF squelch. So I'm saying, hey, anything less than S8, squash it down a bit. Let me tune around.
Kilo 8, Mike Golf Alpha, Whiskey 1, Kilo America.
Okay, there we go. Now, one thing also, too, you have to watch out for is if you're trying to set EQs and the person you're listening to maybe has their transmitter EQ set thin instead of fat, that can play in, too. So
Kilo 4, Lima,
I can tell right now this guy's got more bottom end in his voice.
Returning. And good afternoon, Jim. I don't have the antenna.
Listen to that.
But you're still nice and loud on a really strange propagation
default.
Day. The name here is Pat, Papa Alpha Tango, Pat like Patrick, and I'm located in
you took a fade.
New Hampshire. K4LJE, Whiskey 1, Kilo America.
You can hear it thinning out a little bit. So with these smaller speakers, here's what I wanted you to get from this. With these smaller speakers, you may have to pump a little more bass in there to get it to sound more full. Now when he comes back, I'll play with that one more time, and then I'm going to move to the mids. So we got mids and treble here. Middle, treble. I need a cue so I can hear both sides of it. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, the bands have not been in great shape as I'm filming this. While this video is going longer than I wanted it to, I may do some careful edits. We'll see. I'm going to jump back out and try to find some... Tell you what, I'm going to try 40 meters.
You were calling?
Oh, there's the Maritime Mobile Net.
Well, you're 10 over S9 into Pensacola. Thank you, and 7-3.
It's a little weaker, so I'm rolling the RF gain up a little bit, which lowers the S meter there. So now I'm saying, hey, S7 or more, I want to hear. Just switched antennas. I was on an off-center fed dipole. Now I'm on a ZS6 BKW. bringing a little bit more signal there. But I'll still go down and try 40 meters. Why 40 meters, Doug? Well, I may have a better chance of hearing both sides of a QSO. All right, I'm on 7150. I'm going to tap this button up here to go into memory tune mode. Yeah, man, propagation's terrible. No, I was doing better on 20 meters. And I've got a little noise coming from a charger in my neighbor's garage. Yeah, look at that on the scope. Memory tune. Yeah, I figured that far down it was FT8. Ten meters dead. I've got the scope sensitivity up too high, but right now I've got it set up here in the top right to D level, which is scope sensitivity. I'm going to drop that a little bit. I don't like to see so much noise in there.
Disregard, mobile in Texas. Charlie Victor Golf. I am mobile in Texas. Over.
Pretty good mobile, huh? Okay. Back into the menu. See, the problem is I'm probably too close to whoever he's talking to, so I'm only hearing one side of the conversation.
Okay, could you repeat the call on that end again, please?
You hear it beef up a little bit. I hope your ears can hear that. I hope the microphone can translate that for you.
Got that 5 and 9 in Southern Ohio. You are 5x6 here in North Central Texas.
All right, now I'm going to go to mids.
I'm running 100 watts. Over.
You can tell when the mids drop out.
Noise levels must just be horrendous. I'm in the middle of Houston.
See what I mean? That's too much. Hear all that noise coming in?
I have to assume that my local noise level
2 or maybe 3. I'm going to go with 2.
Higher. That'd be my guess.
Now we'll do the treble.
Say that one more time.
See why you can have too much of a good thing?
Oh, 5x7.
Yeah, I think my 1, maybe 2 are still the best for my ear. Sorry about the noise, but I can't do anything about it right now. I need to go talk to that neighbor, and I don't know what I'll do. Maybe he'll let me put some chokes on the power wires. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to back out of this and roll the function knob back to where I can get to noise blanker. There it is. Yeah, noise blanker struggles with this kind of noise. And you can't run it too high. It'll get gnarly. Digital distortion. You guys, if you've been watching my channel enough, you know this is a weak spot in these newer radios using DSP to handle the noise blanker role. you're waiting until the back end of the receiver to deal with noise. The traditional radios would handle it in the first IF, blanking out the receiver at the correct time when the noise spike would come through. It would track that noise spike and know when to blank out the receiver, literally shut it off at the interval when the next noise spike was going to come through. Very effective. I wish they would go back to that, but I think we're stuck with these DSP noise blankers, which are less effective. And you definitely can't run it on 10. But see, there's not a lot of difference between off and even 3 or 4. And I would say 4 or 5 would be the maximum you'd ever run that anyway. And now you see up here in the top right, now it's stuck on noise blanker. If I rotate it again, after I get out of the menu, it's going to pick noise blanker. All right, so what I like to do is go back into the menu, and I like to leave that set at the D level. That's your scope. See, D level now, and you just long press to get out. And now automatically it's adjusting the scope sensitivity. And the reason is, according to how you have your gain set up on any given band, you may want to adjust that up or down. See, I don't want that. Boy, if you rotate it fast, it'll move quickly. I like somewhere along in this range here where I just barely see the noise. Because I want to be able to... what happened there? Now, see, I didn't do that. I think that's a bug. Now, I haven't installed the... Look at that. You see that? I'm rotating counterclockwise. I have not installed the update yet. The update just came in a couple days ago before I filmed this. And I've just got the SD card, the micro SD card, so that I can install the update. But I thought I would shoot a few videos before I even do that. I haven't even plugged that in yet. But I think that's good. I think that's as good as it's going to get. Let me get on memory tune. I see a signal right there.
I can effectively and find resources to get, help to people that need it. Like I said, I'm really fortunate with the group I'm with here. There are
I'll go back into the menu again.
And clubs that have all done the area certification
radio setting
years ago and been doing this for a long time. They still have a weekly net of still basically an Aries training session every week. So
the amount of noise it brings in is not worth the sizzle it puts on the voice. I can live with 2 maybe. And when he talks again, I'll do the middle. And then I've got one final thing to show you at the end that you may want to consider, especially when you're running the radio like this as a base station. Boy, I need a broadcaster. I need somebody that'll talk a long time. But you hear that? You got to avoid that. But I tried cutting. Okay, listen.
There's one thing that I'm not a big fan of is federally managed business, because if you want to know, one of the biggest
see, that's too much.
Is the Department of Government.
And that's beginning to squash him. 0's pretty good, but
I love the fact that they named it.
I think I can live with the 2.
thing.
Or maybe 1.
That was especially funny because that's one thing that federal organizations aren't over.
No, I think I can live with 2. Okay, now I want to show you final bonus on this. Let me get back out to the regular screen. So if you've watched my series, well, I say series, but I put out a couple of videos regarding the FTM 400 that I have in the shack for a base station for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. And the radio part, I'm using the control head over here on the desk. Let me remind you there. There's the control head. But the radio's on the other side of that amplifier over there on the other side of that KPA 1500 on that little table. So I wanted to redirect the sound from the speaker, which is facing up over here. So I got my son, who's a 3D modeler, 3D printer, and he made this audio waveguide for me. Now I put the rubber feet on the bottom there. You can actually use it either way, small side down or large side down. And so I'm going to put it on this rig up here over that speaker and direct more of that sound toward me.
Roger, Kilo supporter, Golf Sierra Mike. This is Kilo Foxtrot 0, Romeo Foxtrot Echo. Sure, it was a pleasure getting the chance to talk to you, Steve. And
I hope you can hear that.
And I definitely appreciate all the good resources you made me aware of. I thank you for that. And
just beefs it up a little bit.
The great rag chew today.
Because the larger speaker in the larger cavity will have a little more depth. Let me turn that down a little bit. The larger speaker that's in the SPA1 has a little more of a resonance chamber and therefore a little more fullness to the audio. And I didn't want that audio wasted going to the ceiling. I want to redirect it toward me. So if you're interested in having one of those audio waveguides, I will put a link in the description to where you can order that. You could use double sticky tape if you wanted to permanently affix it to it, but I just did the rubber feet. And again, you can use the whichever way sounds better to you, the small hole over the speaker or large hole over the speaker. I've done it both ways, a little different sound, but really good both ways. Again, everybody's hearing is different, so you do what's best for you. Okay, hey, I hope you found the video helpful and informative. I know I covered primarily receive audio, but hopefully you picked out a few of those other little tips. Those of you who know me know that I usually cover a few extra things in a video, so those who only watch videos based on the title miss out a lot. I showed you a few other tips and tricks in this video as well. So I hope you found it helpful and informative. Thanks for watching videos on my channel. Please stand by. I want to acknowledge 5 of the people who make these videos possible. Literally, without them, this video and hundreds of others would not exist. So I want to acknowledge 5 of my Patreon team. I call them long haulers. These are S9 members who are, that's the upper tier, and they support the channel on a yearly basis for multiple years. Without them, the channel would have gone down a long time ago. So please indulge me for another 42 seconds, I think, and appreciate these 5 people. Thanks a lot. 73 from N4 H&H.